Grand Chief's final visit to Parliament. Sepik prepares to welcome Grand Chief. And Mount Hagen Hospital closed down some services.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Thursday's news. The Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare's casket motorcade started at 10 a.m. today. It was welcomed by students from schools all over the nation's capital with flowers thrown on the road as the vehicles passed by, creating a grand pathway for a great man. Sepik provincial government last night officially launched its Provincial House Cry. This is to allow tribal groups coming into Wewak to mourn through their songs and stories.
Initially, the house cry was led by Wewak district, but with the influx of people into Wewak, the provincial government now takes over to allow for all districts in the Sepik to use the venue.
Two critical events that will come up at the main stadium. This is just the beginning of, it started on Tuesday. And it was first a district. It was a build-up. First it was a district house cry. Now we came to make it provincial house cry.
The 28 local level governments in the 6 districts, if they wish to bring their items in tribute to late Sir Michael, they come and see our committee here to program them and then arrange them to present their items.
This idea is to allow visiting tribes to express themselves through their own mourning songs and stories.
The idea is to get people to come from each district and tribe to come and express their feelings. Starts off with a pastoral type of preaching, and then any invited people come and they give their statements, and then it becomes opportunities given to each tribal group that's able to come and express themselves.
While COVID-19 restrictions have been advocated, the nights are purposely to explore the life of the Grand Chief.
I'd like to explore as much as possible the life of Sir Michael, his values he had, and to challenge our communities that, look, we cannot stand violence. We cannot spend violence against women. We cannot spend any form of violence. It is time for us to think seriously of national unity as well, which all the core values that Grand Chief stood for.
All right, thank you. Numbo, Kubalia.
The opening night saw the Numbo tribe from Kubalia in the Yanguru Sausia district. This is their morning song or paya, singing about the great chief that has fallen, about the loss of the province and loss of the family.
Number one part, I was only sing sorry block country. Only sing on behalf of Papa Negani Lomipla, give him sorry go long. Papa Lomipla and put down a sleep. This la quilla and put down I'm sleeping. So I'm sorry blow Papa Negani. Now number two part, I'm only sing low province. Sorry blow province or some Mipla Lucin Papa Lomipla province. Now number three part, I'm only sing long family. Also, logolo family blame sorry blow family belong em. Na em Mipla get the family belong em Papa Lomipla so.
More such tribal groups in Sepik will keep warm this house cry tonight and onwards while awaiting the arrival of Papa. Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News, Wewak.
A team of Morabians had left to Wewak to witness the state funeral and burial of late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. Morobe Provincial Government, through collaborative efforts by all Morobe MPs, have hired 2 vessels, MV Sulu and MV Momase, where locals were also on board to pay their tributes in Wewak in their own cultural way. Their contributions were of garden produce and 4 cows, amongst others. They also took with them a fleet of vehicles to be used in Wewak. The demand for Papua New Guinea flags has seen a sharp increase in Wewak this week as people prepare for the arrival of the Grand Chief's body. So far, 5,000 Papua New Guinea flags have been distributed in Wewak town, with more orders being placed.
There's never been a demand like this for as many flags. The funeral organizing committee in the province has already distributed up to 5,000 flags in and around Wewak, but people are calling for more.
Anti Molika, maybe give more 20, but still more request well, I'm going to 60, 80, 100. So I'm hardly maybe slack in time now.
This morning, members of the committee took some more to the education division for distribution, and they know it won't be enough for the schools.
Flag is short, red blah, black blah, white blah is short, or a tin paint is short.
On Sunday, when the Grand Chief arrives in his home province, school children will line up the roads from the airport to the stadium bearing PNG colours, and thousands are expected to come to this unprecedented event. And for the crew distributing the flags, the pressure is on.
Finish run out straight. Well, come down highway. Waran mountain over the kame nambis over the kame or flags run out.
Every day more flags are being raised in honor of Sir Michael, and some raised on poles, some draped in front of buildings, and others tied simply on sticks. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Wewak.
And now we cross live to Wewak, where Scott White is on standby. Scott, can you give us an update on the funeral arrangements being set by the provincial government?
Thank you, Helen. The provincial administrator, Dr. Clement Malau, has just announced that there'll be a 3-day public holiday starting tomorrow. So businesses won't be open tomorrow. That's Friday, Monday and Tuesday, the duration of the funeral period for the Grand Chief. And there'll be roadblocks set up along the highway to limit the number of people coming in. Anyone who doesn't follow the restrictions, the COVID-19 restrictions, will be sent home. So those are the restrictions that are being put in place, the steps that are being put in place to control the flow of people into Wewak. And you can imagine the number of people coming into the Sir Michael Somare Stadium, or expected to come into the Sir Michael Somare Stadium on the 14th, 15th and 16th. There's a capacity crowd of 10,000, but they're expecting more than that, about 20,000. So additional police have been flown in from Ley, Mount Hagen, and police in Wewak are on standby for any trouble. Additional Defence Force officers, Defence Force personnel have been brought in also. The provincial administrator and the administration are very concerned about COVID-19 due to the recent spike in cases. So they're urging everyone to mask up, distance themselves as much as possible from each other. And it's a difficult time for everyone trying to contain COVID-19 as well as pay respects to the Grand Chief.
Thank you, Scott, for that update. There was Scott Waide in Wewak. The passing of the country's founding father, Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, has once again united his people from the greater Sepik region. Last night, the people of East Sepik, West Sepik and West Papua all gathered to pay their last respects in their unique Sepik culture. Gifts were presented to the family of the Grand Chief as a way of honouring their fallen hero.
The people of the greater Sepik region gathered in their unique cultures to show their final respect to their fallen hero. Traditional mourning songs and cultural rituals were performed as a way of honoring a man of very high status. One of these unique cultures showcased in the final night of the House Cry is the Abelam culture.
Triple dialects. Mamukundi, Samukundi, and Kamukundi. That's the Abalam language kira plong maprik kami going up long winge. So emi first time mi plawata trip la bung one time na.
The Abelam culture and the Abelam language-speaking tribe is one of the biggest tribe in East Sepik, mostly practiced by the people of Maprik. Last night, they performed a morning chant, mostly sung when a person of very high status from their area passed on. They also performed a traditional compensation payment ceremony called the Gambajat. This is when the Yua, or most prized sell money, is given to the maternal uncle of the deceased, who would receive them after burial. But in this case, the sell money and other gifts were presented to the family of the Grand Chief with a total of 50,000 kina.
So me play give him ring, give him money, so that family blow diamond. Boleh gen straight mol kandre na walk mol walk lo custom lo place. Mi plus go saboti mol. So one time disla ata na sana na ogada susana family mi blol hablam society blong. Isibik mi blakam lo saboti idla so that it play making work lo custom lo place. Mi play got all ring lo saboti bianim custom lo mi bla. Na mi play got one pla lig money too hangam up stop. Lo saboti mi idla one pla 50,000 kina.
Apart from the Abelam culture, the Arapes people of West Coast, the people of Murik, the Sepik River people and Yangru Sausia also presented gifts and performed their unique morning songs. The people of West Sepik also participated with their unique cultures, including the people of West Papua. Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
Young citizens of the country have been urged to read, understand and follow the Constitution as a way of honouring the country's founding father. Family representative and son Arthur Somare says it is important to understand the rights and freedoms spelled out in the Constitution. He says by following the Constitution, we are following the dream the Grand Chief has for the country. He was speaking during the final night of the National House Cry last night.
All put him ting blow goran lo one bla paper Constitution bla mi bla. To was you bla all young lol man na meri sinan laya, please go na read him. Understand him good. All get our rights bla you stop inside lab. Rights bla your culture, rights bla your religion. Your rights to freedom of speech. Rights bla your ground bla you bla. Rights bla lo resource bla. All get all consequential laws he can behind lo desla. And behind him this law constitution. Somare emike die to so dream and blame by live on. Na by live on because you ba behind him this law we na all papa blame one dem all mama susa na brata he been writing long bla time ago close to say 50-year penis. So me no like him me all get ready come na stop one the worry. Time blow young bla man na Mary lo pick him up mental way Somare no pinisi walk blame yet. Yes, me bla politically independent. To so iga plan di walk blame me play stop yet.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll be back with more of the day's stories after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. East Sepik Provincial Police Commander Superintendent Albert Belly is calling on the public to report suspicious behavior in their communities. This follows the shooting of 3 wanted men in Yanguru yesterday. While the Wewak Township and the province prepares to receive the late Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare, PPC Belly is appealing to residents to remain vigilant.
But having said this, please, I'm calling all the family council board areas. Please, if you see signs of criminal activities that are to be conducted elsewhere within the highway or at your community, you vice versa, you report to the police. We take precaution measures then we having experience of people becoming the actual victim, like what we saw this morning.
Western Highlands province has seen an increase in COVID-19 cases in the last 2 weeks. They recorded their second COVID-19 death on Monday. The Provincial Health Authority released a statement saying that most of the patients have contracted the virus through community transmission.
So far, the province has recorded 2 COVID-19 deaths and 26 positive cases. The number of COVID-19 cases are starting to increase every day. On Monday, the Mount Hagen General Hospital recorded 4 new cases. Yesterday, there were 8 new cases. All 26 now in isolation in the newly built 12-bed isolation center at Mount Hagen General Hospital. Pathology Department Manager Dr. Zure Kombati says most of the 26 positive cases contracted the virus through community transmission. Dr. Kombati says the increase in number of COVID-19 cases is a major concern and the public needs to observe the new normal practices by wearing masks, social distancing, coughing or sneeze into the elbows and wash of hands frequently. WHPHA is concerned that people are not taking it seriously and is urging the public to stay away from people when they feel unwell or seek medical treatment when they experience flu-like symptoms such as coughing, headache and shortness of breath. Vasanata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Meanwhile, the outpatient and other services at Mount Hagen Hospital will cease operations starting tomorrow due to financial constraints. This is the second time in 3 months that the hospital issued notice that they will close down some of its services. It was a collective decision made by the hospital's senior executive management.
Service includes the children's outpatient consultation clinic, well baby clinic and all elective surgery. The HIV and TB clinics will remain open at this time. WHPHA senior executive management made this decision yesterday in light of the drastic cuts of 6.5 million kina from the authority's budget of this year. WHPHA CEO David Vorst said they are planning to discharge patients, including those that may require anesthetic care. This situation will affect services provided at the rural and urban health facilities, and the PHA's clinical network team have met to discuss potential impacts and a way forward. WHPHA has received 50% of its budgeted funds for January and 35% for February. The PHA said it is not enough to cover all expenses such as the purchasing of drugs and medical consumables, fuel for the fleets and standby generator. Over the past weeks, the hospital was unable to transport patients using the ambulance. And with COVID-19 on the rise in the province, isolation beds are limited and the hospital is expected to see the center overcrowded in the coming days. The public are urged to keep themselves healthy during this time. Vasanata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
With an increase of COVID cases in the National Capital District, those in the front line will need personal protective equipment to protect themselves as they attend to patients with COVID-19. Number One Trophy Limited made a donation of the necessary health supplies to assist Port Moresby General Hospital during this time. Through the group's CSR initiative, the company partnered with Victory No. 8 Limited, Alpha Response Security and Ella Builders to make this donation possible. The supplies include 100 boxes of surgical masks, 100 boxes of gloves, 60 face shields, 30 containers of 20 liters of disinfectant, 90 bed sheets and pillowcases, 1 shipping container to use as storage, and 100 pieces of bread loaves to be delivered to the hospital for the next 30 days. The donation comes after an appeal was made last week for immediate assistance from the general public. NWTL Group Managing Director Jim Gui thanked Victory No. 8 Limited, Alpha Response Security and Ella Builders who partnered with them to provide these essential items for the protection of both staff and patients at Port Moresby General Hospital. And now looking at the NASFund market reports, the kina opened unchanged at $0.2850 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina will buy $0.2775 $0.3549 Australian dollars, $0.3825 New Zealand dollars, and 29.48 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower. Coffee, cocoa, and copper closed higher. Palm oil closed lower. Crude oil is trading lower, and copper closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed higher, the ASX 200 is trading higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading higher. National EMTV News continues with more stories after these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. The Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare's casket motorcade started at 10 a.m. today. It was welcomed by students from schools all over the nation's capital with flowers thrown on the road as the vehicles passed by, creating a grand pathway for a great man.
As early as 7 a.m., students gathered at the start of the Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare's casket motorcade along the road from the funeral home to the flyover bridge. Others joined the students, continuing from the flyover towards Gordon Tunagi Oval, right through to the Waigani City Hall traffic lights, and down towards the Independence Boulevard to the Parliament House. The students and those on site came with flowers to throw on the road before the motorcade passes by as a carpet, showing the greatest respect that he deserves. All shops along the roadway were closed for the people to witness the motorcade as it made its way to the Parliament House. Other students gathered at the Independence Boulevard to welcome the casket to the Parliament House with the same ceremonious throwing of flowers. The casket was then brought into the Parliament House for the special Parliament sitting at around 10 a.m. to around 4 p.m. this afternoon. While most people have gone home, others remain to watch the motorcade of Sir Michael Thomas Somare leave the Parliament House and make its way back. Now he lies in the funeral home. Gertrude Gabi, National EMTV News.
In a fitting farewell, Parliament bells rang in the halls today to allow the founding father to sit in the chambers one last time. The areas that brought the Grand Chief casket was covered in flowers as it entered Parliament, where he was received by disciplinary forces. The founding father was laid in the chambers as the Prime Minister, opposition leader and members of Parliament gave their final tributes.
With the beating of the garmot by the Grand Chief's tribesmen signalling that the motorcade had left the funeral home, an eerie silence came over Parliament. The casket received by the disciplinary forces. Sir Michael was laid in state at the Grand Hall before making his way into the chambers where members of Parliament, the Governor-General and Chief Justice awaited. The opposition leader was the first to give his condolences, the member for Vanimo Green taking the opportunity to set the record straight while paying his respect to the founding father.
I was only an instrument of change at that time as I took lead and stood out. Let us not all start a blame game. This is the time of our nation's mourning. Some accused me of storming into the Chief Justice chamber, to the courtroom of the Chief Justice. I want my accusers to view the videos of the sitting in Parliament, which I described the Grand Chief as the stranger in Parliament. Somebody else introduced the description. I echoed the description and I own up to it, to my deep regret. And I am sorry for what I said to our founding father and the Grand Chief. I say sorry to Sana, Arthur, Junior Michael, Beta, Dalcia, and Lady Veronica.
Prime Minister James Marape tribute urged young leaders to follow Grand Chief's footsteps and vision.
At the time, Oli Bungim come together, think long, drive him, reform, na Senis Law Country, Kind Club was in Bully Beef Club, later become Pangu Party. I mean all senior man or big man, Lombla Age Christmas line only walk him. These were only leaders in the early 30s, in the late 20s, who dreamed for the country. Only think, one of them good people walk him to this country. After Bully Beef Club, he go inside politics in 1968. Somare was only 32 or 33 years old as entering Parliament in 1968. He was 39 when he delivered independence for our country. Those of you who are in your 30s, the Numus, the Rainbow Fighters, the younger ones who are sitting here were born in the 80s. Don't think that you are here passing time for your DSIP, for your district, for goodness sake. DSIP is not the answer for our country. PSIP is not the answer for our country. These people were thinking PNG first, and not Tari first, Finsaben first, Rabal first, We Work first, PNG first. At 1975, he was thinking PNG first, not Sepik first.
Recently elected Bougainville Regional Member Peter Chamalili thanked Grand Chief for the role he played in assisting his family during the Bougainville crisis.
Grand Chief saw that my father will be needed to restore government services back on Bougainville, for Bougainvilleans to carry out their peaceful daily lives by continuing their colorful and unique Melanesian traditional culture in their tranquility environment, living in harmony with our Melanesian brothers of Solomon Islands, and maintaining the relationship between these two great Melanesian brothers. And so he removed my father and brought him to Popondetta. Although in Popondetta, Grand Chief was still concerned of my late father's safety, he still had plans for Bougainville future after the crisis, and so he sent my father to the United Nations. Then he appointed him High Commissioner to Fiji. And further on, he appointed him to Europe, where he served the European Union in Belgium. Far away from the turmoil that was raging between Papua New Guinea and Bougainville, and at times threatening our Solomon Islands neighbors.
Amongst other speeches included National Alliance Party leader Patrick Proich, Treasurer Ian Ling-Stuckey, Sir Peter Ipatas, Governor Alan Bird, and Gary Juffa.
And understand.
The casket of Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare will be taken to the funeral home this afternoon. Tomorrow, it is expected a state funeral will take place at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium, the very same place where the first PNG flag was raised in September 1975. Adelaide Xerox Kari, National, EMTV News.
Former colleagues and lifetime friends will be how the Governor of New Ireland, Sir Julius Chan, will remember Sir Michael. Sir Julius, along with other former Prime Ministers Pius Wingti and Peter O'Neill, acknowledged the Grand Chief for his political career and his long-lasting impact in the country's development. Meanwhile, Western Highlands Governor Pius Wingti called on members of Parliament and future Prime Minister to honour Sir Michael by respecting the constitution he formed and the separation of power.
Together we took on the greatest challenge in the history of any country, the challenge to be independent, to be free. There was much to do if we were going to achieve that, but we did it. We gained the recognition and endorsement of the United Nations. We created our own central bank, the Bank of Papua New Guinea. We bought out the Commonwealth Bank of Australia and established our own commercial bank, the PNGBC, and formally introduced our Kina and Toyo on 19th April 1975, 5 months prior to independence. We gained entry to the ADB, the World Bank, the IMF. We became a part of the World Economic Community.
He set up a team of Papua New Guineans, Paul Sarek, John Kapatun, John Kapa, Madabe Yui, Bekansi, Daugi, and many others. They traveled right throughout the world. They went to Tanzania, to African countries. They went all over
They traveled without Papua New Guinea throughout our country. Somare was smart. He knew he had to put this house together. What is he going to create? The creation. Make sure the Constitution was right.
He had the big heart, Mr. Speaker. It was the forgiving heart. Capacity to forgive was with him. And that is why he was able to maintain a strong leadership for over 49 years. Much of it was not Prime Minister. Only 17 years he was Prime Minister, but 32 years he was serving in other capacities. That is a man who is committed, loving his country, loving his people. That is why we are here today, to pay the respect that he deserves.
Cardinal Sir John Ribat will be the main celebrant during the Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare State funeral service tomorrow. Given that Sir Michael was a devoted Catholic, the Mass will follow the full Catholic rite of the Church. Cardinal Ribat said that it is an honour to be given the opportunity to serve the Grand Chief's funeral service.
Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Somare's funeral service will be held at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium on Friday the 12th of March 2021 from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Cardinal John Ribat and the Archdiocese of Port Moresby has been chosen by the government and the family of Sir Michael to celebrate the Holy Mass.
Let us make this moment a special moment for our nation and recognizing the great commitment Sir Michael Thomas Somare did in his time, and also let us recognize the great blessing God has been to us through Sir Michael. And also
Cardinal Ribat spoke of the last time he sat with the Grand Chief and had a conversation with him at the Pacific International Hospital, and said that Sir Michael's hope to bring the people together is captured in the events of the past few weeks, and for the people to come together to celebrate his life during the funeral service.
We are focusing on a man who really gave his life for our nation. And not only that, but he was faithful to the values that he saw, and he embraced them, he accepted them, and then he lived for in his life.
COVID-19 preventive measures will be taken seriously during the funeral service. Masks are required for entry, hand sanitizers and other measures will be taken. For those who won't be able to make it, the funeral service will be live streamed on all media platforms. Gertrude Gabi, National EMTV News.
Meanwhile, Port Moresby residents gathered in numbers outside of the Parliament House to show respect, to get a glimpse of Sir Michael's casket and bid him farewell.
Today was a sad day for the nation as the body of the Grand Chief was taken to the Parliament for the last time.
We have leaders, good leaders, but this one is special. And this one, all the leaders are unique. And him, Somare, the chief, is unique in a different way. The struggles he came through to get us independent.
The general public showed respect and grief for the great man who fought for the country's independence.
Paste mibla pasi tanget, ol papa mama tumbuna ol pasi tanget na stop. Dislama dasol puti mibla kam place clear na.
Me feeling was because me no looking casted blame, so me by bell blame and by cry.
The people waited the whole day outside the Parliament House to get a glimpse of Sir Michael and to pay respect as the casket left the Parliament House for the last time. Esther Thailam, National EMTV News.
Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika at the special parliament sitting today spoke of Sir Michael's dream to see Papua New Guineans treated fairly in their country. The Governor-General also sharing the same sentiment while stating Grand Chief's work not only for independence in PNG but also unity in the Pacific, and at Cora reports from Parliament.
First time for PNG to witness the interaction of powers. PNG's Chief Justice Sir Gibbs Salika and the Governor-General Sir Bob Dadai farewelling the late Grand Chief on the floor of Parliament today. A display of decorum as leaders from both sides of the House stood to acknowledge an interaction of powers, the Governor General and the Chief Justice making an entrance. This prior to the late Grand Chief's casket being brought in from the Grand Hall to lie in state in the chamber. Speaking eloquently about the late Grand Chief's legacy during the gain of independence, the Governor-General recalls that Australia's flag was not pulled or torn down to be replaced with the PNG flag. Instead, it was taken down with ease and handed back to Australia, this marking the birth of a young PNG.
As a great peacemaker and Sana, he succeeded self-determination peacefully. As PNG flag was about to be raised for the first time on that historical moment at Sir Hubert Murray Stadium, this is what our first Governor-General, Sir John Guy, said in his first independent message. We are lowering the flag of Australia, not tearing it down. This short but meaningful statement reflected a very smooth transition of mandate for political rule without a revolution or bloodshed.
Head of the Judiciary, PNG Chief Justice Agib Salika, highlighted what the struggle was like for the late Grand Chief to fight against domination during pre-independence and fighting for basic rights to be attained for PNG.
And at independence, we acquired fundamental rights and freedoms, individually and collectively, regardless of race, tribe, place of origin, color, sex, and creed. Those rights and freedoms were to be subject to the respect for the rights and freedoms of others. Basic rights that were not accorded to our people were accorded to our people at independence, and they were the right to life itself, liberty, security, protection of the law.
Stating that the late Grand Chief, subject to the rule of law, charted a new course for PNG.
Fast-tracked, independence fast-tracked, appointment of our National Chief Justice, fast-tracked, appointment of judges, fast-tracked. The challenges that Somare and the others at that time faced were enormous, yet he met those challenges. And today we look back and say, yes, he made the right decisions and made the right calls at the right time.
He has challenged leaders and citizens via this first interaction of power on the late Grand Chief's passing, whether PNG is still focused on taking the legacy of the late Grand Chief forward and into a brighter future. Today has been a day of many firsts to give PNG's founding father a well-deserved farewell, one that will go down in the history of Papua New Guinea. Annette Cora, National EMTV News.
And Chukai Sports is next. Details after the break.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. The TBL Kurio Amateur Volleyball Association received timely financial assistance from community leader Lohia Boy Samuel. The Elevala village-based competition has proven to be a positive influence, attracting the attention and drawing support from prominent figures in the community.
The TBL Kurio Amateur Volleyball Association, a community sporting organization from Elevala village in Hanuabada, received a donation from community leader Lohia Boy Samuel. The assistance given to the association will greatly benefit all participants as the competition heads into the finals matches. The donation includes 1,000 kina for the winners in the men's divisions A and B grade, and also the women's division. Second prize of 500 kina will go to the second place teams, and another 500 will be divided for individual player awards. The donation includes trophies for the finals presentation. Association President Ted Meir, upon receiving the sponsorship, was grateful, stating that these donations are a way of empowering the youths and young people taking part in the competition. Mr. Lohia Boy Samuel said that sports is a medium for unity. It also addresses social cohesion and major issues that the villagers face, including problems relating to and caused by alcohol abuse in the community. Mr. Samuel stated that one reason he is backing this association and competition is due to the fact that it is supporting gender equality. The association executives includes a female vice president, providing an example to the community and promoting gender equality. Haxi Lovai, Chukai Sports.
Chukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay with us.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome back to Chukai Sports. The 5 PNG Track athletes at Cloud County Community College in Kansas, USA, capped off a very successful indoor session last weekend by helping their team to a third-place finish in both men's and women's divisions at the Junior College National Indoor Championships. Ephraim Lurkin was in great form, improving on his national record in the 600 meter by winning his heat in 1 minute 20.6 seconds. He assisted his team to gold in the 4x800 meter relay in a time of 7 minutes 42 seconds, which broke the 40-year-old school record. Shedrick Tanzi and Emmanuel Wanga were part of the team that set another new school record of 3 minutes 12 seconds in finishing third in the 4x400 meter relay. Izila Apkup finished fourth in the 400 meter final after setting a personal best of 56.63 seconds in the heats. Leonie Bell also secured a fourth place finish in the 600 meter, and the two PNG girls then assisted their 4x400 meter relay team to a third place finish. The 5 athletes are now focusing on the outdoor season, which is expected to kick off on the 20th March and conclude with the National Outdoor Championships at the South Plains College, Texas on the 11th to the 13th of May 2021. You're watching National EMTV News. That ends Chukai Sports. The weather forecast for the next 24 hours when we come back.
Chukai Sports. Chukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
I'll look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Cloudy with possible rain showers tonight, then mostly fine morning in Port Moresby. Cloudy periods with early morning showers in Daru. A shower or two can be expected in Kerema, mostly fine weather in Alotau, and mostly fine apart from a shower or two in Popondetta. In the Mamasa region, mostly fine with chances of a shower or two in Ley and Wewak, mostly fine weather in Medang and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine weather in Lorengau and Kavieng, mostly fine with evening shower or two in Kokopo and Rabaul, becoming cloudy with a shower or two in Kimbe, and partly cloudy weather with chances of a few showers tonight in Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain showers tonight, then morning fog in Mount Hagen, mostly fine, though partly cloudy tonight, then morning fog in Goroka and Kondiawa, and cloudy with some rain showers tonight, then morning fog in Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Thursday, the 11th of March, 2021. A reminder to our viewers, our special program, The Grand Chief, a tribute hosted by veteran journalist John Hagen and MTV's Bradley Valenaki will follow straight after the news. And from all of us here at MTV, thank you for your company. Pleasant viewing. Bye for now.